amazing views, snowy trails, and a hidden waterfall deep in the Sangre de Cristo Mountains. Today, we're heading into Zapata Falls. If you love wild places and stories found off the beaten path, hit subscribe and come along. Welcome to the Lost Fjord. This amazing area sits at the very edge of the Sangre de Cristo Mountains. It is a rugged subrange of the Rocky Mountains that stretches more than 240 miles from south-central Colorado into northern New Mexico. These mountains rose as the Earth's crust stretched and cracked along the Rio Grande Rift, lifting blocks of rock and creating some of Colorado's steepest peaks and sharpest valleys. Here in the San Luis Valley, South Zapata Creek found a weakness in the rock millions of years ago, working its way through ancient glacial deposits and moraines left behind as ice retreated. Over time, that water carved a narrow channel and a 30-foot cascade known today as Zapata Falls. The name Zapata comes from the Spanish word for shoe, tied to early settlement in the valley in the 1800s when Mexican families and later ranchers raised livestock at the mountain's base. The contrast between the open valley, the high mountains, and the elevation is enough to leave you breathless, and I apologize in advance for my mispronunciation of any and all words. Even in the winter, this small yucca plant is thriving, a plant with 101 uses, from edible fruits to soap made from its roots. The hike to the falls is a great short adventure, just under 1 mile round trip, starting at around 8,900 feet in elevation, though hiking it in the winter can add a bit of a challenge. We're at that fun part of the year where sometimes we're going to get icy tracks and sometimes we're going to get nice clear trails. So we've got our yak tracks just in case we need them today. There is an array of unique flora in the San Luis Valley. Down low you'll see sagebrush, rabbit brush, and greasewood, plants adapted to wind, cold, and alkaline soils. Sagebrush was historically used by indigenous peoples for medicine and insect repellent, while rabbit brush provided yellow dye from its flowers. Moving upslope, piñon pine and juniper become more common. Piñon pines were especially important. Their nuts were a major food source, while juniper wood was used for tools and fuel. Along creeks and drainages, cottonwood and willow take hold. Willow was traditionally used for basketry, cordage, and pain relief, and cottonwood provided shade, firewood, and building material. In the distance, and in sharp contrast to the snowy peaks, we can see the Great Sand Dunes National Park, the tallest sand dunes in North America, shaped by wind, water, and the surrounding Sangre de Cristo Mountains. The trail ahead finally straightens out as we near our destination. A short off-leash opportunity, since Willow and Geralt seem to have endless energy, a secret they still won't share with me. The water pouring over Zapata Falls begins as snowmelt and mountain springs high in the Sangre de Cristo Mountains. Zapata Creek carries that runoff down into the San Luis Valley, part of the greater Rio Grande watershed. Geralt wasn't sure what to think about being able to hear the creek running under his feet. The falls exist because of the Rio Grande Rift, a giant crack in the earth where the San Luis Valley sank while the Sangre de Cristo Range rose. Over millions of years, melting snow and rainwater exploited a weak spot near ancient glacial deposits, slowly carving the path that now becomes Zapata Falls. Long before the falls had a name, this broader region, the San Luis Valley, was a crossroads for people dating back thousands of years. Nomadic hunter-gatherers like Clovis and Folsom cultures moved through the Seat Valley following game and water, and later tribes including Ute and Apache maintained seasonal ties here, harvesting plants and hunting along mountain streams. While there are no well-documented artifacts right at the falls itself, the valley around Zapata holds petroglyphs, pictographs, and ancient campsites showing prolonged use by Paleo-Indian and indigenous peoples over millennia. It was time to start headed back down the trail, but first, a Zoomies break. With no one else on the trail and a reliable recall, it was nice to let Geralt and Willow explore on their own for a little bit. I wanted to take a moment to enjoy the contrast between the snowy mountain trail we were on and the sand dunes below. It was a great photo opportunity too. Zapata Falls is a short trail, but it packs a lot into a small distance. Cold water crossings, towering rock walls, and a waterfall carved straight out of the Sangre de Cristo Mountains. This place is a reminder that you don't need a long hike to find something powerful. Sometimes it's about stepping off the road, embracing a little discomfort, and letting the landscape reset your head, because every trail, no matter the length, moves you forward in more ways than one. Thanks for joining me on today's adventure. Geralt and Willow always enjoy any excuse to get out onto the trails and into the woods. If you enjoyed today's video, I hope to see you next week as we continue exploring, and if you haven't done it already, you know the rules. Give the like button a smash with your hammer and subscribe like you need someone else in the shield wall. I look forward to the next adventure here on the Lost Fjord.